I think I've made it pretty clear in videos past that my family is on a budget. We have more than enough money for the things that we need, but we don't go out and frivolously purchase things that we don't. There are obviously things that we would like to have. Excuse me. Toys and games and go out to dinner, more often than we do. And I mean, we want to be able to do those things, but we're just not at a point financially where it's responsible to do those things as regularly as we would like to. And that's not a bad thing. But what gets me is, I've also mentioned how I like to watch a lot of woodworking videos. And I really, really enjoy the guys that put together these videos, and the girls. There's some female ones too. But one thing that is common in all of these videos, from these people that are known content creators that are making a really decent living, and running these businesses, is they will constantly say, oh, and I got this tool pretty cheap, or this piece of equipment was relatively inexpensive. And they do sometimes use the word relatively, but sometimes they'll just say it was pretty inexpensive. And then that begs me to ask, to whom? Who? Because there's a whole range of people across the country, across the world, that is exposed to this content. And your version of pretty inexpensive could be completely different than my version of pretty inexpensive. To some people saying, oh, it was only $500. Okay, well, compared to something that's $1,000, yeah, that's inexpensive. But for me, $500 is nothing to sneeze at. I mean, you don't just ignore throwing out $500 for a tool or some other supply or whatever it may be. Fill in the blank with your thing. But to use the phrase pretty inexpensive is probably one of the closest things to being offended that I could get. I don't like that phrase. It's assuming. It's not fair. And while I don't think it's said with malice, it still is putting this kind of air of arrogance out there. Oh yeah, this $200 piece of equipment was pretty inexpensive. Oh yeah, compared to some other tools. But to say inexpensive to somebody who's, really keeping track of where their dollars are going, that's not fair. So, I talked a while back about our experiences and how we all perceive things differently. Make sure to keep that in mind when we're referring to parts of our lives that might be different from other people's. And maybe just be a little more sensitive to it. I'll see you this afternoon.